Welcome to Tales of Terror, a crime and horror stories channel. If you like our stories, please comment, like, and subscribe.
Waverly Hills Sanatorium was originally constructed in 1910 to accommodate the growing number of tuberculosis patients in the Louisville area. At the time, tuberculosis, also known as consumption, was a highly contagious and often fatal disease with no known cure. Due to the lack of effective treatments and the rapid spread of the disease, sanatoriums like Waverly Hills were built to isolate patients and provide them with fresh air, sunlight, and rest as part of their treatment. As the tuberculosis epidemic worsened, Waverly Hills underwent several expansions to accommodate the increasing number of patients. By the 1920s, it had grown into a sprawling complex with multiple buildings, including patient wards, administrative offices, a kitchen, a dining hall, and even its own power plant and water treatment facilities. The sanatorium was renowned for its innovative treatment methods, including the use of heliotherapy, exposure to sunlight, and open-air balconies to promote healing and prevent the spread of infection. Despite its best efforts, Waverly Hills was unable to stem the tide of tuberculosis, and many patients succumbed to the disease within its walls. The mortality rate at the sanatorium was alarmingly high, with hundreds of patients dying each year at the peak of the epidemic. The sheer volume of deaths led to the creation of the infamous body chute, a tunnel used to discreetly transport deceased patients out of the facility without alarming the other residents. With the development of antibiotics and improved public health measures in the mid-20th century, the need for tuberculosis sanatoriums declined rapidly. Waverly Hills closed its doors as a tuberculosis treatment facility in 1961, having treated thousands of patients over its 5 decades of operation. In the years that followed, the sanatorium fell into disrepair and became a haven for vandals, squatters, and urban explorers. In the 1990s, a group of investors purchased Waverly Hills with the intention of transforming it into a hotel and conference center. However, these plans never came to fruition, and the property remained vacant and deteriorating for several years. In 2001, a new owner acquired the site and began efforts to restore and preserve its historic buildings. Today, Waverly Hills is a popular destination for paranormal enthusiasts, historical tours, and special events, offering visitors a glimpse into its haunting past and the lives of those who lived and died within its walls. The ghostly nurse of Room 502. The story goes that in the early 20th century, Room 502 was occupied by a young nurse who worked tirelessly to care for the tuberculosis patients housed within Waverly Hills. Despite her dedication to her duties, tragedy struck when the nurse discovered that she was pregnant out of wedlock, a scandalous situation in the social mores of the time. Overwhelmed by shame and despair, the nurse was unable to bear the thought of the stigma and ostracism she would face. Distraught and with seemingly no way out, she made the heartbreaking decision to end her own life. Some accounts suggest that she hung herself from the light fixture in Room 502, while others claim she jumped to her death from the window. Following her tragic demise, visitors and staff at Waverly Hills began reporting eerie encounters with the ghostly apparition of a young woman dressed in a nurse's uniform. Descriptions of the ghostly figure vary, but most agree that she appears as a pale and ethereal presence, her face etched with sorrow and her eyes filled with anguish. Witnesses have reported seeing the ghostly nurse wandering the halls of Waverly Hills. Some claim to have heard her soft weeping echoing through the empty rooms, while others have felt a chilling presence in Room 502, as if they were being watched by unseen eyes. The children's laughter. In the children's ward of Waverly Hills, young patients battled the disease with varying degrees of success, their lives marked by suffering, isolation, and the constant specter of death. Despite their dire circumstances, the children found moments of joy and respite in each other's company, forming bonds and friendships as they navigated the challenges of their illness. However, for many of these young patients, their time at Waverly Hills was tragically cut short, as tuberculosis claimed the lives of countless children within its walls. It is believed that the residual energy of their presence, along with the memories of their laughter and playfulness, lingers within the sanatorium to this day. Visitors to Waverly Hills have reported hearing the sound of children's laughter echoing through the empty corridors and abandoned wards, particularly in areas associated with the former children's ward. The laughter is described as both playful and melancholic, evoking a sense of longing and sadness in those who hear it. Some witnesses claim to have seen ghostly apparitions of children running and playing in the halls, their transparent forms fleeting and elusive. Others have reported feeling a profound sense of sadness or empathy wash over them in the presence of the children's laughter, as if they are bearing witness to the innocence and tragedy of young lives lost too soon. The shadowy figures. These shadowy figures are typically described as tall, dark, and indistinct, with no discernible features or defining characteristics. They are often seen lurking in dimly lit areas or darting between rooms, their movements swift and silent. Some witnesses have reported seeing the shadowy figures standing motionless in doorways or corners, their presence casting an oppressive atmosphere over the surroundings. The origin and nature of these shadowy figures are a subject of much speculation and debate among paranormal enthusiasts and investigators. Some believe them to be residual energy imprints left behind by the traumatic events that occurred within the walls of Waverly Hills, manifestations of the intense emotions and suffering experienced by patients and staff alike during the sanatorium's operation. Others interpret the shadowy figures as malevolent entities or spirits, drawn to the darkness and despair that permeate the abandoned halls of Waverly Hills. According to this interpretation, these entities may be lingering remnants of the deceased, trapped between the realms of the living and the dead, or entities drawn to the energy of the living who visit the sanatorium seeking thrills or answers. Encounters with shadowy figures at Waverly Hills often evoke a sense of primal fear and foreboding in those who experience them. Witnesses have described feeling an overwhelming sense of dread or impending danger in the presence of these entities, as if they are being confronted by something beyond human comprehension. The chute, the haunted body chute, also known as the death tunnel, is perhaps one of the most macabre and chilling aspects of Waverly Hills Sanatorium. This narrow underground tunnel stretches over 500 feet and was originally constructed to transport deceased tuberculosis patients discreetly out of the sanatorium without alarming or disturbing the other patients. The construction of the body chute was necessitated by the sheer volume of deaths that occurred at Waverly Hills during the tuberculosis epidemic of the early 20th century. With mortality rates soaring and the need for a discreet means of removing the deceased becoming increasingly urgent, the body chute provided a grim solution to this logistical challenge. The entrance to the body chute is located on the first floor of Waverly Hills, near the morgue and autopsy room. From there, the tunnel descends steeply underground, snaking its way through the earth until it reaches ground level at the bottom of the hill upon which the sanatorium is situated. At the other end of the tunnel, a waiting hearse would transport the bodies to their final resting place. Despite its practical purpose, the body chute has become synonymous with death, suffering, and the paranormal. Visitors to Waverly Hills have reported encountering unsettling phenomena while exploring the tunnel, including cold spots, disembodied voices, and the feeling of being watched or followed by unseen entities. Many believe that the body chute is haunted by the spirits of the deceased patients who passed through its dark confines on their final journey. The residual energy of their suffering and despair is said to linger in the tunnel, manifesting as ghostly apparitions, strange sounds, and unexplained phenomena. Some witnesses claim to have heard the sound of ghostly whispers or cries echoing through the tunnel, while others have reported feeling an overwhelming sense of dread or oppression in its shadowy depths. Paranormal investigators have captured anomalous readings and recordings in the body chute, further fueling speculation about its haunted nature. The tormented souls of the operating room. The operating room was a place of both hope and despair, where patients faced the stark reality of their mortality while doctors and nurses fought tirelessly to save lives. Countless surgeries were performed in this room, ranging from the removal of diseased lung tissue to more experimental procedures such as thoracoplasty, where ribs were removed to collapse the infected lung and give it a chance to heal. Despite the best efforts of medical staff, many patients did not survive the brutal treatments administered in the operating room. The mortality rate for tuberculosis patients undergoing surgery was alarmingly high, and for those who did survive, the road to recovery was often long and arduous. The residual energy of the suffering and despair experienced in the operating room is said to linger in its atmosphere, manifesting as ghostly apparitions, disembodied voices, and unexplained phenomena. Witnesses have reported seeing spectral forms of doctors and nurses moving among the surgical tables, their faces contorted in agony as they relive the traumatic events of the past. Others have heard the agonized screams of patients echoing through the room, their cries of pain and fear reverberating through the empty halls. Some claim to have felt a cold, oppressive presence weighing down on them, as if the tormented souls of the past are still trapped within the walls of Waverly Hills, unable to find peace in death. The phantom patients. These phantom patients are often described as pale and emaciated, with hollow eyes and a gaunt appearance reminiscent of those who suffered from tuberculosis. Some witnesses claim to have seen them wandering aimlessly through the halls, their transparent forms flickering in and out of view. Others have reported feeling a sudden chill or a sense of unease in their presence, as if they are being watched by unseen eyes. The origins of these phantom patients are a subject of much speculation and debate. Some believe them to be residual energy imprints left behind by the traumatic events that occurred within the walls of Waverly Hills, manifestations of the intense emotions and suffering experienced by patients during their time at the sanatorium. Others interpret the phantom patients as the restless spirits of the deceased, unable to find peace in death and doomed to wander the halls of Waverly Hills for eternity. According to this interpretation, these spirits may be drawn to the sanatorium by unfinished business or unresolved trauma, seeking solace or closure in the afterlife. The Haunted Nurses Station. In the early 20th century, the nurses' station served as the central hub for medical staff, providing a base for nurses to monitor patients, dispense medication, and coordinate care. It was a place of both routine tasks and moments of intense medical drama, where the dedicated staff worked tirelessly to care for the patients afflicted with tuberculosis. Despite its functional purpose, the nurses' station has become synonymous with ghostly encounters and eerie phenomena. Witnesses have reported hearing disembodied footsteps and the sound of voices coming from empty rooms, as if the spirits of former nurses are still going about their duties long after the sanatorium's closed. The apparition of dressed in a traditional uniform, moving through the corridors with purposeful strides. Her presence is often described as calm and reassuring, as if she is still caring for the patients under her charge. Others have reported encountering strange occurrences such as equipment moving on its own or the feeling of being touched by unseen hands. The nurses' station is also believed to be a hotspot for residual energy, with the intense emotions and trauma experienced by patients and staff during the sanatorium's operation leaving a lasting imprint on the environment. This residual energy is said to manifest in various ways, from sudden temperature drops and unexplained cold spots to electromagnetic disturbances and feelings of unease or dread. The phantom smells. These phantom smells can vary widely in nature and intensity, ranging from the scent of antiseptic and medicinal chemicals to the aroma of fresh flowers or even the unmistakable smell of cigarette smoke. What makes these olfactory apparitions particularly unsettling is their sudden and unexplained manifestation, often occurring without warning and in locations where no logical explanation can be found. The origins of these phantom smells are a subject of much speculation and debate among paranormal enthusiasts and investigators. Some believe them to be residual energy imprints left behind by the traumatic events that occurred within the walls of Waverly Hills, manifestations of the intense emotions and sensory experiences associated with the sanatorium's operation. Phantom smells as a form of communication or manifestation by the spirits that are said to haunt the sanatorium. According to this interpretation, these olfactory apparitions may be the result of spirits attempting to make their presence known to the living, using familiar scents as a means of communication or connection. The ghostly lights. These ghostly lights often appear as orbs of light or wispy shapes moving through the darkness, their movements seemingly erratic and unpredictable. Some witnesses describe the lights as pulsating or shimmering, while others report seeing them vanish suddenly or change color in the blink of an eye. The origins of the ghostly lights are a subject of much speculation and debate among paranormal enthusiasts and investigators. Some attribute them to natural phenomena such as reflections, atmospheric disturbances, or even the presence of residual energy left behind by the traumatic events that occurred within the walls of Waverly Hills. Others interpret the ghostly lights as manifestations of the spirits that are said to haunt the sanatorium, using light as a means of communication or manifestation. According to this interpretation, the lights may be the result of spirits attempting to make their presence known to the living, using visual phenomena to capture the attention of those who dare to explore the haunted halls of Waverly Hills. The residual energy. At Waverly Hills, the sheer volume of suffering and trauma endured by patients and staff during its years as a tuberculosis sanatorium has led many to believe that the building is imbued with residual energy. This energy is said to manifest in various ways, including sudden temperature drops, unexplained cold spots, electromagnetic disturbances, and feelings of unease or dread. One of the most commonly reported manifestations of residual energy at Waverly Hills is the sensation of being watched or followed by unseen entities. Visitors and paranormal investigators often describe feeling a heavy, oppressive presence weighing down on them as they explore the abandoned halls and rooms of the sanatorium. Some claim to have experienced sudden waves of emotion or intense feelings of sadness or despair, seemingly without any external cause. The theory of residual energy provides a framework for understanding the persistent hauntings and paranormal phenomena reported at Waverly Hills. According to this theory, the traumatic events and intense emotions experienced by patients and staff during the sanatorium's operation have left an indelible imprint on the building, which continues to manifest as ghostly apparitions, strange sounds, and unexplained phenomena to this day. The phantom music. The phantom music is often described as ethereal and haunting, with melodies that seem to float through the air like distant whispers. The style of music reported varies, ranging from classical tunes to jazz or even the sound of old-timey music hall songs. Despite its elusive nature, the phantom music is often described as beautiful yet melancholic, evoking a sense of longing and nostalgia in those who hear it. The origins of the phantom music are a subject of much speculation and debate among paranormal enthusiasts and investigators. Some attribute it to natural phenomena such as echoes or acoustic distortions caused by the layout of the building. Others believe it to be the result of residual energy left behind by the traumatic events that occurred within the walls of Waverly Hills, with the music serving as a manifestation of the intense emotions experienced by patients and staff during the sanatorium's operation. Another theory suggests that the phantom music may be the work of restless spirits or entities attempting to communicate with the living. According to this interpretation, the music may be a form of auditory manifestation used by spirits to capture the attention of those who dare to explore the haunted halls of Waverly Hills. The vanishing objects. Witnesses have described experiencing the vanishing objects phenomenon with a variety of items, including keys, cameras, cell phones, and other personal effects. In some cases, these objects vanish without a trace, only to reappear in a different location within the sanatorium hours or even days later. Other times, the objects may disappear momentarily, only to reappear in the exact spot where they were originally placed. The origins of the vanishing objects phenomenon are a subject of much speculation and debate. Some skeptics attribute it to forgetfulness or absent-mindedness on the part of the witnesses, suggesting that the objects were simply misplaced and later found in a different location. However, many who have experienced the phenomenon adamantly insist that the objects disappeared under mysterious circumstances and reappeared in a manner that defies rational explanation. Paranormal enthusiasts and investigators often interpret the vanishing objects phenomenon as a form of poltergeist activity or psychokinesis, suggesting that the movement of the objects is the result of unseen forces or energies at work within the sanatorium. According to this interpretation, the intense emotions and psychic energy associated with the haunted history of Waverly Hills may be responsible for manipulating physical objects in inexplicable ways. The Haunted Morgue. Despite its utilitarian purpose, the morgue has become a hotspot for paranormal activity, with numerous reports of eerie encounters and unexplained phenomena. Witnesses and paranormal investigators have described hearing strange noises emanating from within the morgue, including the sound of footsteps, doors opening and closing on their own, and disembodied voices. Some visitors claim to have seen ghostly apparitions or shadowy figures lurking in the dimly lit confines of the morgue, their presence evoking a sense of unease and dread. Others have reported feeling sudden drops in temperature or a sensation of being touched or grabbed by unseen hands while inside the origins of the haunting at the morgue are a subject of much speculation and debate. Some attribute it to the residual energy left behind by the traumatic events that occurred within the walls of Waverly Hills, with the intense emotions and suffering experienced by patients and staff during the sanatorium's operation manifesting as paranormal phenomena. Others interpret the haunting as the restless spirits of the deceased, unable to find peace in death and lingering within the confines of the morgue. According to this interpretation, the spirits may be drawn to the morgue by the residual energy of their traumatic experiences or by the presence of the living who visit the sanatorium seeking answers or thrill. The ghostly resonance. The ghostly resonance is a phenomenon reported by visitors and paranormal investigators at Waverly Hills Sanatorium, characterized by strange echoes and reverberations that seem to emanate from the building's empty corridors and abandoned rooms. Witnesses described experiencing a sense of disorientation and unease as they hear the sound of their own footsteps or voices echoing back to them, distorted and amplified as if bouncing off invisible walls. The origins of the ghostly resonance are a subject of much speculation and debate. Some attribute it to the unique acoustics of the building, suggesting that the layout and construction of Waverly Hills Sanatorium create natural echoes and reverberations that can be disorienting to those exploring its haunted. However, others interpret the phenomenon as a paranormal occurrence, with the echoes and reverberations being caused by the presence of unseen entities or residual energy left behind by the traumatic events that occurred within the walls of the sanatorium. Witnesses often report feeling a sense of dread or apprehension as they navigate the halls of Waverly Hills and encounter the ghostly resonance. Some claim to have heard disembodied voices or strange whispers mingling with the echoes, adding to the eerie atmosphere of the abandoned building. Others describe feeling as though they are being watched or followed by unseen eyes, their every movement and sound magnified by the strange acoustics of the sanatorium. The phantom cries of pain. The cries of pain are described as haunting and visceral, with witnesses often reporting feeling a deep emotional impact upon hearing them. Some describe the cries as desperate and anguished, while others liken them to the sounds of someone in torment or suffering. Despite the intensity of the cries, there is never any physical evidence or indication of their origin, leading many to attribute them to paranormal activity. The origins of the phantom cries of pain are a subject of much speculation and debate. Some believe them to be residual energy imprints left behind by the traumatic events that occurred within the walls of Waverly Hills, manifestations of the intense emotions and suffering experienced by patients and staff during the sanatorium's operation. According to this interpretation, the cries may be a psychic echo of the pain and despair felt by those who passed through the doors of Waverly Hills during its dark. Others interpret the phenomenon as the work of restless spirits or entities attempting to communicate with the living. According to this interpretation, the cries may be the desperate pleas of the deceased, trapped between the realms of the living and the dead and seeking to make their presence known to those who dare to explore the haunted halls of Waverly Hills. The haunted staircases. One of the most commonly reported experiences on the staircases is the sensation of being followed or watched by unseen entities. Visitors have described feeling an oppressive presence looming over them as they ascend or descend the stairs, as if they are being trailed by unseen footsteps or shadowy figures. Others have reported hearing strange noises, such as disembodied whispers or the sound of someone climbing the stairs behind them, only to turn around and find no one there. Ghostly apparitions have also been reported on the staircases of Waverly Hills. Witnesses claim to have seen transparent figures or shadowy forms lurking on the steps or peering over the banisters, their presence evoking a sense of fear and unease. Some describe the apparitions as resembling former patients or staff members of the sanatorium, while others report encountering more ambiguous or indistinct shapes. The origins of the haunting of the staircases are a subject of much speculation and debate. Some attribute the phenomena to residual energy left behind by the traumatic events that occurred within the walls of Waverly Hills, suggesting that the intense emotions and suffering experienced by patients and staff during the sanatorium's operation have imbued the building with a lingering energy that manifests on the staircases. Others interpret the phenomena as the work of restless spirits or entities attempting to communicate with the living. According to this interpretation, the staircases may serve as portals or focal points for paranormal activity, with spirits drawn to these transitional spaces, haunted halls of Waverly Hills. Often manifest the sensations of pressure, tingling, or even pain on the skin, leaving witnesses feeling shocked, startled, and profoundly unsettled. Some describe the sensation as gentle and fleeting, like a light brush or caress, while others report feeling more forceful touches or grips that leave behind physical marks or bruises. The origins of the phantom touches are a subject of much speculation and debate. Some attribute them to natural phenomena such as drafts or changes in temperature, suggesting that environmental factors may be responsible for creating sensations of touch or pressure on the skin. However, many who have experienced phantom touches insist that the sensations are not easily explained away by mundane causes, pointing to the eerie and unsettling nature of the experiences. Paranormal enthusiasts and investigators often interpret phantom touches as evidence of supernatural activity, suggesting that the sensations may be the work of restless spirits or entities attempting to make their presence known to the living. According to this interpretation, the touch may be a form of communication or interaction used by spirits to engage with those who dare to explore the haunted halls of Waverly Hills. The ghostly apparitions in mirrors. Witnesses describe seeing ghostly figures or faces reflected in the mirrors of the abandoned building, despite there being no one present in the room with them. These apparitions often appear suddenly and fleetingly, leaving witnesses feeling shocked, unsettled, and profoundly unnerved by the experience. Some describe the apparitions as indistinct and ethereal, with features that seem to shift and change as they stare back from the mirror. Others report seeing clear and lifelike images of people or figures that resemble former patients or staff members of the sanatorium. The origins of the ghostly apparitions in mirrors are a subject of much speculation and debate. Some attribute them to natural phenomena such as reflections or optical illusions, suggesting that environmental factors may be responsible for creating the illusion of ghostly figures or faces in the mirrors. However, many who have experienced these apparitions insist that the images they saw were not easily explained away by mundane causes, pointing to the eerie and unsettling nature of the experience. Paranormal enthusiasts and investigators often interpret ghostly apparitions in mirrors as evidence of supernatural activity, suggesting that the reflections may be the work of restless spirits or entities attempting to make their presence known to the living. According to this interpretation, mirrors may serve as portals or focal points for paranormal activity, with spirits drawn to these reflective surfaces as they navigate the haunted halls of Waverly Hills. The phantom screams in the tunnel. Witnesses describe hearing blood-curdling screams echoing through the dark and claustrophobic confines of the underground tunnel, despite there being no living person present to produce such sounds. These screams are described as gut-wrenching and agonizing, with witnesses often feeling a sense of dread, fear, and unease as they listen to the chilling echoes reverberating through the tunnel. Some describe the screams as being filled with despair and anguish, while others liken them to the sounds of someone in mortal peril or torment. The phantom screams in the tunnel are a subject of much speculation and debate. Some attribute them to natural phenomena such as echoes or acoustic distortions caused by the layout and construction of the tunnel. However, many who have experienced phantom screams insist that the intensity and visceral nature of the sounds cannot be easily explained away by mundane causes, pointing to the eerie and unsettling nature of the experiences. Paranormal enthusiasts and investigators often interpret phantom screams in the tunnel as evidence of supernatural activity, suggesting that the sounds may be the work of restless spirits or entities attempting to make their presence known to the living. According to this interpretation, the tunnel may serve as a conduit or channel for paranormal activity, with spirits drawn to this isolated and atmospheric location as they navigate the haunted depths of Waverly Hills. Thanks for watching Tales of Terror, a crime and horror channel. Please hit subscribe to get notified about our next story.